We are back on BTN Live now with an inside look at those teams trying to keep the Big Ten out of Monday night's national championship game. For more on both Kentucky and Duke, we say hello to Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. Mike, let's start with the unbeaten Wildcats. So much collective talent, sometimes the individuals get overlooked. What specific player should Wisconsin be most concerned about?
Well, I think the obvious answer to that would be Karl Anthony Towns because he's their best talent, and when they need him the most, he's the guy that they turn to. I think that in some ways, though, I think the player you most need to be concerned about when you play Kentucky is Andrew Harrison, who starts at point guard and sometimes gives way to an extent at that position to Tyler Ulis, but often plays in tandem with him and still is their most important attacking player in a lot of ways. He can be dissuaded from attacking, and if you can do that, you really can jam up and lock up their offense. If he's not getting the ball into the lane, there are a lot of times when Kentucky's offense just completely shorts out.
Now, Mike, on the other end of the court, Notre Dame really had its way offensively against Kentucky. Anything that the Irish did that the Badgers can emulate?
I think the one thing you have to remember is they had their way in a lot of ways. They were able to get the ball to the rim, which very few teams have ever been able to do against this Kentucky team, but they weren't able to get any threes. They made 4 3-pointers in that game. That's half their normal output. That's 12 points they left in the bank. And that's been the way for every single team that's played this Kentucky team. So I think part of what Wisconsin has to think is that part of the offense might not be particularly productive for them in this game, but you have to keep that as a threat so that you keep the defense stretched out so that Frank Kaminsky gets as much one-on-one time with whoever guards him, most likely Willie Cauley-Stein. I mean, Willie Cauley-Stein may be the best equipped guy in America to defend Frank, and certainly they did a good job defensively against him a year ago, but they had to really commit a lot to doing it then. And if you commit a lot to doing it with this team, you're taking the chance on a lot of guys who can hurt you. That very few teams put as many good scorers on the floor as Wisconsin does. So if they guard him single, Wisconsin can maybe do a lot of damage in the 2-point area with Frank. If they double him, then that may open things up for more 3-point plays.
Talking with Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News here on BTN Live. Mike, let's head over to the other side of the bracket, Michigan State and Duke. The Blue Devils' big man, Jahlil Okafor, has been terrific. Michigan State defensively has been terrific. Do the Spartans have down low defensively what it takes to slow down Okafor?
Well, I think to some extent, yes. Teams that have been able to double him have been able to do a good job of taking him out. The problem has been that they have made that double team pay, and Matt Jones was the greatest beneficiary of that on Sunday against Gonzaga. Matt Jones, the sophomore shooting guard, had a great day in a gym that's not supposed to be very good for shooters. And so that's the question you have to ask yourself is, who do they leave? And if they do leave a Jones or either of the Joneses, Matt or Tyus, those guys are both great 3-point shooters. So is Quinn Cook. And lately, Winslow has made 3-point shots as well, and they've been playing more with that alignment, basically 4 smalls, although Winslow's about 6'6", 6'7". They've been playing 4 out and 1 big guy, and it's harder to double than on Okafor. So that's where the real problem defensively becomes for Michigan State is, again, that inability to double on Okafor, whether they have Schilling or Costello or whoever out there to guard Okafor. It's hard to get help on him with the alignment that Duke's been using.
Mike, you mentioned the name Tyus Jones. He, along with Quinn Cook, 36 points, 10 assists when Michigan State met Duke back in November. How do you handicap the guard matchup now as they get set to meet again on Saturday?
Well, Michigan State's certainly in a lot better shape now with the way Travis Trice has been playing. He's been outstanding and playing with great heart and with a real fire, and I think that part helps. I don't think that Michigan State has a huge deficiency at that spot versus Quinn. It's a little bit more of a difference when Lou Rawls-Nairns is in the game. He's certainly not the talent that Tyus Jones is, but he can defend Jones. I think he can stay with him. So maybe he can bring Jones down a little bit from the really productive offensive player that he has been and can be. We've seen Nairns do a really nice job of defending very good players. So I think from that standpoint, it's not quite as much of an advantage for Duke now as it was then.
Last one for Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News, who joins us now on BTN Live. If I forced you to choose right now, Mike, do the Badgers or Spartans have the better chance of playing on Monday night?
I have to say the Badgers, even though their challenge is greater, they also have a great team. This is not a team that got fortunate to get to the Final Four. This is a great college basketball team. And if this team had been in place a year ago, they would be your reigning national champions. It happened that they were on the way to here, and they got to the Final Four. They're going to have to beat a great team, and that team will probably play at a really high level. I don't rule out at all that Wisconsin can win that game. And then I think if they played Duke or Michigan State, both teams they're familiar with, they've played before, I think they can win that game as well. So if it's going to be either of the two, for me, it's easily the Badgers. And it may turn out to be a hard luck story that they were a championship level team in a year where they happened to play an all-time great team. We'll find out on Saturday.
No one covers college basketball better than Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. Mike, as always, great to catch up, my friend.
All right, you bet, Rick. Thank you.